The security guard's walkie-talkie crackled with static as he pushed a man in a sequin jacket through the backstage corridor of the Los Angeles Forum. The man was protesting, hands raised, trying to explain something that was getting drowned out by the commotion. Wait, look at what the security team thought they had caught. Because what happened in the next 8 minutes would prove that kindness doesn't require a stage or an audience, just the willingness to see someone else's struggle as your own. It was March 1988. The Bad Tour was in full swing, and Michael Jackson was in his dressing room between the sound check and the evening performance. The Forum was sold out, 18,000 people waiting outside, and backstage was controlled chaos. Crew members rushing past with equipment, dancers stretching in hallways, technicians shouting coordinates into headsets. Michael was reviewing the set list with his choreographer when the door burst open. 2 security guards entered, forcibly escorting a man between them. The man was wearing a red leather jacket with silver buckles, black pants with a sharp crease, a single white glove, and his hair was styled in tight curls that caught the light. For a split second, everyone in the room went silent. The resemblance was unsettling. "Mr. Jackson," one of the guards said, slightly out of breath, "we found this guy wandering near the stage entrance. Says he's supposed to be here. We think he's trying to sneak in by pretending to be you." The man in the red jacket looked terrified. His eyes were wide, his hands shaking. "I wasn't sneaking anywhere. I bought a ticket. I was just looking for the bathroom and got turned around. I swear I wasn't trying to cause trouble." Michael stood up slowly, studying the man's face. The styling was deliberate. The jacket was a near replica of the one Michael wore in the Thriller video. The glove, the hair, even the way the man stood, one hip slightly cocked, mirrored Michael's signature posture. But up close, you could see the differences. This man was shorter, his face rounder, his features softer. The jacket wasn't quite right either. The leather was thinner, the buckles slightly tarnished. This was homemade. "Let him go," Michael said quietly. The guards hesitated. "Sir, we don't think." "Let him go." They released the man, but stayed close, clearly suspicious. Michael walked closer, his eyes scanning the jacket, the glove, the shoes. Everything was an approximation, close enough to fool someone from a distance. But standing here under the harsh dressing room lights, it was obvious this wasn't professional costume work. This was someone doing the best they could with limited resources. "What's your name?" Michael asked. The man pulled off his sunglasses, revealing nervous brown eyes. David Martinez. I'm an impersonator. I perform at clubs around LA, small venues, birthday parties, corporate events. I bought a ticket to your show tonight because I wanted to see the real thing, learn from you. I had a gig earlier today and came straight here. I didn't think about how it would look." Michael tilted his head, still staring. "You do this for a living?" David nodded. "I try. It doesn't pay much, but it's enough to help with bills. I have a daughter. She's 8. Her mom passed away 2 years ago. Cancer. I'm raising her on my own, and the impersonation work, it's flexible. I can take her to school, pick her up, be there when she needs me. Regular jobs don't let you do that." The room went quiet. Michael's choreographer looked away. One of the dancers shifted uncomfortably. David's voice had cracked slightly when he mentioned his daughter, and now he was looking at the floor, clearly embarrassed. Michael reached out and touched the sleeve of David's jacket. The leather was stiff, the stitching uneven. "Did you make this?" "Yeah." "Well, I bought the jacket at a thrift store and added the buckles myself. Took me 3 weeks to get them placed right. I watched the Thriller video probably 200 times, pausing it, measuring everything. My daughter helped. She'd hold the tape measure while I marked where each buckle should go." Michael looked at the glove. It was white cotton, not the beaded custom piece Michael wore on stage. And this, regular glove from a department store. I tried adding rhinestones once, but they kept falling off. My daughter said it looked better plain anyway. Michael turned to his choreographer. Can you give us a minute? The choreographer nodded and ushered everyone out, including the security guards. When the door closed, it was just Michael and David in the dressing room. The silence stretched for a moment. David looked like he wanted to disappear. Sing something, Michael said. David's eyes went wide. What? Sing something. I want to hear what you sound like. Mr. Jackson. I can't. I don't sound anything like you. That's the problem. I can look like you from a distance. I can move like you. But the moment I open my mouth, everyone knows it's not real. Sing anyway. David took a shaky breath and started singing the opening lines of Billie Jean. His voice was nothing like Michael's. It was higher, thinner, without the distinctive power and precision that made Michael's vocals instantly recognizable. But there was something earnest about it. David was trying so hard, putting everything he had into the performance, even though he clearly knew he didn't measure up. When David finished, Michael was quiet for a long moment. I know it's terrible, David said quickly. But people don't come for the singing. They come for the show. The moves, the jacket, the glove. They want to feel like they're seeing you, even if it's just pretend. For a few minutes, they get to escape, and I get to pay my electric bill. Michael walked to the mirror and looked at his own reflection, then at David's reflection standing behind him. Two versions of the same image, one real, one constructed. He thought about all the Michael Jacksons out there in the world, thousands of them, probably. People who made their living pretending to be him. People who studied his every move, his every gesture, trying to capture something that couldn't really be captured. Do people believe it? Michael asked. That you're me? David laughed, but it was a sad sound. In the dark, from far away sometimes, little kids believe it. They get so excited, but adults, they know. They always know. I'm just a guy in a thrift store jacket trying to make rent. Michael turned around. What if you had the real thing? David blinked. What? Michael walked over to a large wardrobe in the corner of the dressing room. He opened it, revealing dozens of performance outfits, jackets, shirts, gloves, all organized by tour and era. He pulled out a jacket from the bad tour. It was black with red detailing, silver zippers, and intricate embroidery on the shoulders. He'd worn it during the first week of the tour, but had switched to a different design after that. He held it up. This is yours. David stared. I can't. That's Mr. Jackson. I can't accept that. Sure you can. Michael walked over and draped the jacket over David's shoulders. It fit almost perfectly. You've got a daughter to take care of. You're working hard, doing what you need to do. If you're going to impersonate me, you should have something real. It'll help your shows. You'll book better gigs. It's practical. But both of them knew it was more than that. This wasn't about practicality. This was about recognition. About Michael seeing someone who was struggling, who was trying to support a child on his own, who was doing the best he could with what he had. David's hands were shaking as he touched the jacket. Why are you doing this? Michael shrugged. Because I know what it's like to feel like you're not good enough, to feel like you're just pretending, even when you're doing your best, and because your daughter deserves to be proud of what her dad does. David's eyes filled with tears. He tried to speak but couldn't. He just stood there, holding the jacket, his shoulders shaking. Notice something about moments like this. They don't happen because someone's looking for credit or recognition. They happen because someone with the power to help decides that helping matters more than anything else. There's one more thing, Michael said. He picked up a Polaroid camera from his dressing table. Put on the jacket. Let's take a picture. David changed into the jacket. It transformed him. With the real costume, professionally made with the right materials and construction, David looked even more like Michael than before. Michael stood next to him and held up the camera at arm's length. They both struck a pose, the same stance, the same angle. The camera flashed. Michael pulled out the photo and waved it in the air, waiting for it to develop. When the image appeared, it showed two Michael Jacksons standing side by side. You couldn't tell which was which at first glance. "Keep this," Michael said, handing David the photo. "When times get hard, when your daughter asks why you do what you do, show her this. Show her that what you do matters, that you're good at it, that the real Michael Jackson thought you were good enough to stand next to." Before David left, Michael asked him one more question. "What's it like, being me every night?" David thought about it. "Honestly, it's an honor, but it's also lonely. People see the jacket and the glove, but they don't see me. They don't know that I'm a single dad who's terrified I'm failing my daughter, that I'm doing this because it's the only thing that lets me be there for her. Sometimes I wonder if I'm just hiding, pretending to be someone successful so I don't have to face the fact that I'm barely making it." Michael nodded slowly. "You know what's strange? Sometimes I feel the same way. Like I'm playing a role, like the real me got lost somewhere, and now I'm just performing the version everyone expects." They stood there for a moment, two people on opposite sides of fame, both struggling with the weight of expectations and the fear of not being enough. "But you're not barely making it," Michael said finally. "You're raising your daughter. You're showing up for her every day. That's not failing. That's everything." As David left the dressing room, carefully carrying the jacket folded over his arm, one of the dancers passed him in the hallway and did a double take. She stopped, stared, then looked back at the dressing room door, where Michael was still standing. "Wait, which one of you is the real Michael?" Everyone nearby laughed, David included. "That's the highest compliment you could give him." Michael called out from the dressing room. The jacket changed David's career. With a genuine Michael Jackson performance piece, he was able to book better venues, charge higher fees, and start actually making a stable income. But more than that, the story of how he got it became part of his act. He'd tell audiences about the night he was mistaken for Michael at Michael's own concert, about the kindness Michael showed him, about the jacket and the photograph. The photo became David's most treasured possession. He had it framed and hung it in his living room. His daughter would show it to her friends, pointing at the two figures and saying, "That's my dad. The real Michael Jackson gave him that jacket." David tried calling the forum a few times in the following months, hoping to thank Michael again. But Michael was always on tour, always unreachable. Eventually, David stopped trying. He understood that their moment together was complete, a perfect memory that didn't need to be extended. When the allegations hit the news in the early 90s, when Michael's name was being dragged through tabloids and courtrooms, David did something that surprised everyone who knew him. He started speaking up. At his shows, between songs, he'd tell the story of the night he met Michael. He'd talk about the kindness, the generosity, the way Michael had seen him as a person, not just an impersonator or a fan. "The media wants to tell you who Michael Jackson is," David would say to his audiences. "But I met him. I saw who he was when there were no cameras, no publicists, no one to impress, and that man was kind. He was human. He saw a struggling single dad and he helped. That's the Michael Jackson I know." When Michael died in 2009, David performed a tribute show at a small venue in downtown LA. He wore the jacket Michael had given him and told the story of their meeting to a packed house. The audience was silent, many of them crying. After the show, people came up to him with their own stories. A woman whose hospital bills Michael had paid. A man whose college tuition Michael had covered. A teenager whose youth center Michael had funded. Person after person, all with stories of quiet kindness that had never made the news. "I realized something that night," David would later say. "Michael gave me more than a jacket. He gave me proof that he saw regular people, that he cared about people who were struggling, that fame hadn't made him forget where he came from or what it was like to need help." The jacket is still in David's possession. His daughter, now grown with children of her own, has asked him several times if he'd consider donating it to a museum or selling it. David always refuses. That jacket isn't just a costume, he says. It's a reminder of the day the king of pop treated me like I mattered. Some things are too precious to give away. The photograph of Michael and David together, two versions of the same icon standing side by side, hangs in David's home office. His grandchildren sometimes look at it and ask which one is their grandpa. David always smiles and says, "The one on the right is just a guy who got lucky enough to meet his hero and discovered that his hero was even better than he'd imagined." The story of Michael Jackson and David Martinez, the impersonator who couldn't sing but had a daughter to feed, is one of those small moments that reveals something profound about character. Michael didn't have to give David that jacket. He didn't have to take the time to make a struggling performer feel seen and valued. He didn't have to stand next to him for a photograph that would give David credibility and dignity. But he did it anyway, because underneath all the fame and the costumes and the performances, Michael understood what it meant to work hard for something, to struggle, to try to support your family doing what you loved. He saw himself in David, or maybe he saw who he might have been if things had gone differently. And for a few minutes in that dressing room, the king of pop and his doppelganger stood side by side, so similar in appearance that even Michael's own dancers couldn't tell them apart, but they were connected by something deeper than looks. They were connected by the understanding that we're all just trying our best, all putting on our costumes and stepping into our roles, hoping we can make someone happy, hoping we can pay our bills, hoping we can be worthy of the lives we're trying to build. David Martinez continued performing as a Michael Jackson impersonator until he retired in 2015. He kept the jacket in pristine condition, only wearing it for special occasions. When asked why he didn't wear it more often, he'd say, "That jacket represents the best of who Michael was. I want to honor that, not wear it out." The photograph remains. The story continues to be told. And somewhere in the complicated legacy of Michael Jackson, there's this small thread of simple human kindness, a reminder that sometimes the most important performances happen off stage, when no one's watching, when there's nothing to gain except the knowledge that you made someone's burden a little lighter. If you enjoyed spending this time here, I'd be grateful if you'd consider subscribing. A simple like also helps more than you'd think. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear about the power of seeing and valuing people who work hard at their craft. Have you ever met someone you admired and discovered they were even better in person? Let us know in the comments.